So hello everyone. Today I'm going to be addressing a video made by a user here on YouTube called Aboijoli. I know I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry, but I'll leave the link to the original video down below. So let's see the video.
Now this video is going to be called Debunking Evolution because I believe it's important that everybody gets the premise that there is a creator and that creator created man. Okay, now this is important to law because the whole foundation of the law we have here in the Western world, on the North American continent, is based on the scripture and that there is a God. So it's important that we establish a hierarchy. God is supreme.
Okay, so first things first. The North American continent, the countries of the North American continent are just a part of the Western world, okay? I know that you Americans kind of like to think about yourselves as the belly button of the Western world, but no. There's also Europe, and there's South America, and there's Australia, and New Zealand, and a lot of other countries and cultural areas. So, you're just a part of the Western world, okay? But let's get to the point. You say that in some way the scriptures are at the basis of the way we think about laws in the Western world. So, no. For example, let's take the United States of America. The founding fathers of the United States of America were not Christian. They were deists. Okay, so you kind of look like it seems like you skipped 2 centuries of history. So you kind of forgot about the Illuministic period. So think about George Washington, who was not in any way Christian. All the founding fathers of the United States of America talked very poorly about Christianity, about organized religion. Benjamin Franklin was skeptical about the divine nature of Jesus. Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson were also very skeptical about any form of religion. And there's no mention of religion, okay, in our scripture, in the Constitution of the United States of America, or in the Declaration of Independence. So, try to repass your constitution because there's no trace whatsoever of scripture. But let's go ahead and talk about evolution, okay?
Now there's a few points I want to go through with this, and I'm pretty sure I can debunk evolution and turn all you atheists. So here we go. My first point, I've got this all written down here so that I don't miss stuff. My first point is, well, I know there's a creator, and I know what my purpose is. So I don't just believe this, I don't just have faith, I know. I've figured it out logically.
Ah, so you know. Yeah. So all those, strange things like faith and those Christian principles for which you have to believe without any proof. Who gives a damn? I mean, you know, you have logic, right? So you don't need those belief systems and faith and all those things Jesus was talking about. Who gives a damn? You know, right?
Yes, I'll use this analogy because I'm a carpenter and it works for me and it's pretty simple. So think about this in your own mind. Let's consider a house. Do you think that a house could build itself? If you think about all the things that go into a house, you have to have certain parts and pieces and material. You have to have a plan. Just having a plan donates that it's created. Okay, I don't care who you are or how long you live. You could wait 1 billion years and a house could not create itself. The premise of evolution says that life spontaneously created itself. Well, if you think about our analogy we just went through, that a house couldn't create itself, don't you think a house is a lot simpler to build than life?
So your argument is based on the idea that somehow a house, extremely complicated house, could not have just popped into existence like that by chance. And you're right. Extremely complex things don't just pop into existence. Uh, the problem is the fallacy, I think, behind your way of thinking about this thing is that evolution doesn't say that complex things just happened. Evolution talks about evolution. So if you have a complex house, it didn't just pop into existence. It started as a very simple concept, and through years, through a lot of eons and centuries of evolution, with natural selection, you arrive at something very complex. Now, let me make this a little more clear. So let's make the analogy of a house, okay? So what would be the most simple concept of a house? The first houses that humans would have used, it would be caves. Now, if you have a cave, caves can naturally occur in nature, right? So if you have caves, you have humans inhabiting it, and they'll try to render it more habitable. I don't know. For example, trying to make it wider, they'll try to expand it. So they'll try to tear down a wall of the cave. So how does natural natural selection intervene? So if you have humans trying to make their caves a little better, how will they do it? They'll try and figure out what works and what doesn't work. So if they try to I know, tear down a wall, and they see that the cave collapses if they do that, the next time they won't do that precise thing. They'll try to do something else. Okay, so the next time, the next step, they'll be better. If they see that a certain type of wood is more resistant at pressure than another type of the wood, the next time they'll use wood and building the walls of the caves, they'll be better because they will remember how they used the precise type of wood. You see, and in this process of trial and error, you have natural selection. And well, it's artificial selection, but it works in our metaphor. So it's kind of the same thing in nature, where you start from extremely simple organisms, in which mutations happen, and some mutations work, others don't work. The others don't work. So those which work give the organism advantage, and that makes the organism more probably more probable to have sons and to transmit its DNA. So you'll have those mutations which represent advantage. You'll have them pass from generation to generation, and you'll have ever more complex organisms. Okay, so it's not that you start with a complex house just popping into existence. You have an entire long process that takes you from a basic cave in the woods to an extremely complicated house.
My second point is cell mechanics. In the recent years, say 10 years or so, the medical science have done great strides, and they have these microscopes that can let you peer inside a cell. What they've found, see that these are actual little miniature machines that are going on inside your cells. These little machines, if they're missing one part or piece, they're not going to work. I don't know how you could explain that with evolution. There's no way. We're created.
So the premise here is that in some way, cell mechanics is way too complex to just be explained with normal evolution. Um, the fallacy here is that, first of all, the cell is not the starting point of evolution. Evolution is a process that starts with very, very simple things. Okay, so the evolution of life starts with uh, prebiotic cells, and you have just basic organic molecules interacting with themselves. Okay, so remember the analogy I made about caves and houses. You don't start with a house, you start with something very, very basic. And it's the same thing about cells. It's completely true that the mechanics of a cell, as you see it today, couldn't have just popped into existence. Ask yourself this: all the small things you see in a cell, why are they made to operate in that precise way? Why do cells use, for example, oxygen and not, I don't know, another molecule or another element? I mean, why does the rotor do the thing it does and not another thing? Everything you see in a cell is based on the way the organism evolved. Okay, so it's everything you see in the cell bears the traces of the evolution of that cell. It's kind of the same thing I said earlier about caves and how a precise material which is used today, I don't know, like concrete is the end product of an evolution of materials. So you have a long process of trial and error to make the best type of material, in which you eliminate things that do not work and you keep things that work. So the mechanics of the cell are the end product of the evolution, not the starting point of the evolution. So it's completely explainable with the process of natural evolution described by Charles Darwin. Okay?
Another point, and I think this is the biggest one of them all, the founder of the theory of evolution, Charles Darwin, even says it himself that his theory is weak, and it's probably not true because he couldn't find the missing link. All right?
So you're partially right, because Darwin did say that the lack of fossils were a weak point in his theory, but that's because geology and paleontology were new sciences in the 800s. Okay, but we're almost 2 centuries after that, and today we found thousands of specimens. Okay, so we have tons and tons of fossils. You can go in any natural museum and clearly see the fossils corresponding to all kinds of different missing links in the puzzle of natural evolution of organisms on Earth. Now, even if you were to not consider any fossil, which, bear in mind, is one of the biggest proofs of evolution. But even if you don't consider fossils, we have genetics, and genetics is one of the biggest proofs that evolution works. You can see it happening at the genetic level. You have tons of proofs of evolution happening all around us. Okay, so bear in mind that the proof is out there. Okay, so you just have to read more. Thanks for watching. The video is done, and I'm dreaming owls, and I hope you dream them too. Peace.